Record of Ragnarok chapter 103. We have the full translations. In this chapter, if you guys checked out my spoiler video and if you checked out my earlier videos this month, you know we're going to be getting the backstory of Loki, the most terrifying trickster in the world of the gods. We also will get a little update on what's happening in the present timeline, so stick around for all that. Before that though, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the content, want to stay on this side of the Record of Ragnarok algorithm. Also, liking the video helps to get recommended to the channel more often, so you see more of my videos. Quick shout out to the members. I appreciate the support as always. Now without further ado, let's get into it. How did this god become the most terrifying trickster in the world of the gods? Of course, this is talking about Loki, and we basically see these three murals of Loki. There's a little sentence at the top of the page that says, the story of a certain jester's fate. Was it due to his sly personality, or was it due to his shape-shifting ability? Now when it says shape-shifting ability, it shows Loki shape-shifting into a wolf and into a woman potentially. It might even imply that it goes from a woman to Loki to the wolf, which would be interesting in and of itself, but we've never seen Loki turn into a woman thus far. So maybe that'll be a plot point at a later date. Narration says, no, no, no. It was because of love. We then see this great shot of Valhalla, the garden of the gods, with this huge tree and this vast forest. We see these Norse women, or just girls, I guess. We don't know what they specifically are, but they're all chilling in this garden. There's some kids over there, and we see Loki start walking through. From the very beginning, that individual's existence has always been of a different nature. Now all these women end up kneeling before Loki in this row that basically clears a path for him. They kneel to him on either sides of the path. Despite inheriting the blood of the frost giants, the Jotuns, enemies of gods, he was a god whose power rivaled that of chief gods like Odin and Thor. Interesting translation here, calling Thor a chief god. We've never had that revelation before, but that's an insane statement for Loki nonetheless. His power rivals Thor and Odin. That's pretty immense hype. We then get a clear shot of what Loki looked like at this time. He's got tattoos on his arms and stomach, and he has a completely different design from what we're used to. More of a punk rock type of look. I actually think it's kind of a cool design. One thing that's interesting to note is that like all the people that I was talking about that were chilling in the garden, as soon as they even recognized that Loki's walking through, they immediately all stopped what they were doing and ran over to kneel before him. We then see some of these women talk about him and they say such an ominous aura, and another one quickly says, be quiet, don't say careless things like that. If you upset him, he'll extinguish you. Are you unaware of the tale of the giant who was slain when his heart was set ablaze by Lord Loki? That man shows no mercy even to his own kin. So everybody was terrified of this man. Loki didn't really pay any attention or mind to the people kneeling to him. He just continued on with his walk. And for the first time, something does seem to grab his attention. He starts looking over to the side. Now what we end up seeing is the Valkyrie sisters having a picnic in this garden. They have all this fruit. They're running around. They're playing a game where they're basically throwing fruit at each other. Now in this image, we don't see all the Valkyries. Obviously, the author doesn't want to show us the Valkyries that haven't been revealed yet, but we do see the likes of Thrud, Rist, Gondel, Ragnleaf, Rangris, and of course Hilda, and Locke, who have main focus in this encounter. Locke ends up saying, come on guys, that's cheating. You are all too childish for being my big sisters. We see that Locke's been pelted with fruit, and Rist says, you are the one who started this dumb fight. And Thrud says, and of all people, you choose to pick a fight with us. Rangris then says, you think our dear Locke will be okay? And Ragnleaf says, I will just ignore that. Gondel then says, it's the usual thing after all, right? And Loki's just observing this. He continues walking. He didn't stop, but he seems intrigued by the Valkyrie sisters. We then see Locke says, if that's the case, I'm going all in now. And she slams one of these fruits into Hilda's face. She says, gotcha. She starts laughing. Big sis, your face is all messed up. And Hilda says, way to go, Locke. If that's how it is, I will use this. And Hilda walked over and grabbed this big ass watermelon. Now, like, they're throwing smushy fruit that's gonna splatter. This watermelon's gonna hurt if it hits. And they call Hilda the eldest Valkyrie. She's the first Valkyrie sister. The sisters immediately like, whoa, take it easy, man. Like, that's way too big for this game. And Hilda does not care at all. She just whips the watermelon into their general direction. Now, the sisters dodge out of the way of the watermelon, but the watermelon keeps on going and it ends up slamming into an unsuspecting Loki. Now, what we end up finding out is that Loki actually ends up catching the watermelon in his mouth with his sharp teeth. It's a comedic panel, but he catches this watermelon. The sisters are immediately like, oh shit, we messed up. He chomps down in the watermelon, and Hilda, understanding she messed up, dives to the ground in subservience to kneel to Loki and says, my deepest apologies, Lord Loki. I beg, please forgive me. And all the other Valkyrie sisters follow suit and kneel before Loki. Loki doesn't say anything. He just like bites down on the watermelon. His face all puffs up, and he basically just eats the whole thing, and then he spits out these seeds. No words are spoken here. Valkyries don't say anything, but Hilda just continues watching Loki as he does this and spits out the seeds, and she can't help but laugh at the face that he made and then him spitting out the seeds, and basically thinks it's super funny because he was almost taking himself so seriously as he was doing something that looked so laughable. And Ragnarok says, hold on sister, what are you doing? Hilda says, I'm sorry, but just now Lord Loki was munching like a squirrel and his face was so serious, and then he spat the seeds, making a sound, and she starts wheezing. She starts laughing uncontrollably. Now Loki doesn't seem too amused by this. He's actually confused, probably just appalled that somebody would laugh in his face when he's given all this reverence otherwise. He starts to say what, but he doesn't get the words completely out as it's drowned out by Hilda just laughing even louder and louder. Thrud then says to Locke, tell me this is a lie. Sister Hilda, she's laughing her butt off. And Locke says, it's over. Hilda just continues laughing and says, that's so funny, Lord Loki. You are truly an amusing person. And then we see this shot of her face, and she is smiling very wide. Almost looks like she's blushing here. And as soon as Loki sees this, his whole demeanor changes from like the usual scowl to like he's melting. Love at the sight of that smile. Ragnarok says, Sister Hilda, what are you doing? What you did to Lord Loki? And Hilda's like, oh, she's like noticing that she's actually laughing. Loki here actually seems to get pretty mad, and he just starts storming off. Now, it's clear that he just doesn't understand like what's happening. Like, why did he just feel the way he felt? Probably hasn't felt that way before. And as he's stomping off, Hilda's trying to apologize. She's like, Lord Loki, I'm truly sorry. I wasn't trying to hit you. And he says, it's okay, no big deal. Now the other Valkyries are confused, kind of. They're like, wow, we thought that was kind of going to go differently. But Loki starts sprinting. He ends up running to the edge of the land. He jumps off the land, and almost in like a skipping manner, he raises his arms to his side, and he's thinking of that smile. He says, what is this? What is this? What is this feeling? That smile. Clear blushing on his face, and now he is smiling. Since then, Loki changed. He who was dreaded and shunned began to play pranks, and this was the birth of the Loki that we know of with his current design. He basically changed his whole flow for Hilda. We see Forseti being the victim of one of Loki's pranks. He says, Lord Loki, could you please tell me what you're up to? He tries chasing after Loki, and Loki says, don't get angry. You're the god of peace, aren't you? He mocks him, and then he does this very conveniently in front of Hilda. Hilda ends up looking over to him and smiling, which gets a grin from Loki as he got what he wanted. He wants to see her smile. There's going to be a constant theme of him doing pranks in front of Hilda because he wants to see that smile again. The current me is a furious four-eyed god, says Forseti as he continues to chase after him. And regardless of the time or who the target was, the narrator says Loki continued to play his pranks. And one of the pranks he pulled was on Ares. This was actually during what looks to be a serious meeting between Zeus and Odin. But he shaves Ares' head bald as Ares screams out, look, you piece of shit, stop right there, you bastard. You see he's got the clippers in his hand. He says, my bad, this meeting with the uncles is just so boring. So he didn't even care to disrespect the sanctity of the meeting between Zeus and Odin. Odin and Zeus don't really seem to care. They're kind of just sitting there quietly. As the narrator says, through his craftiness, he carried out every kind of mischief, thus becoming the god of mischief. And we see that Hilda again was watching this encounter and laughs in response to what Loki did. He became a trickster, and it was all for the sake of only one desire, love. Hilda wanted to make her smile. We then see one more prank, perhaps the greatest prank he'd ever pulled to this point. As Hilda was walking through the library, you just randomly see Loki start sprinting through, and he's screaming, run, Hilda, as he actually has Thor's hammer on his back. Hilda can't even believe what she's seeing, and before she can register what's happening, Loki grabs hold of her hand. Now take note of this specifically, this specific picture. Grabs hold of her hand, pulls her away, and they start running. She says, Lord Loki, that thing on your back, could it be? And Loki smiles and says, I may have borrowed that from Thor. What do you think is gonna happen? She's like, wait, you can't be serious. He's coming. And you see Thor start walking towards them, lightning flickering everywhere. He is serious as hell as he is exuding a ton of lightning from his body. And Loki says, all right, let's escape, Hilda. They run up the staircase. They're running away from the lightning being thrown at them. The entire room that they were in is illuminated with light. Lightning flies through the building and they jump out in this epic panel as they escape Thor's wrath. Now, it is interesting to note, it's pretty damn impressive that he's holding Thor's hammer in such a casual manner and he's running with all that weight on his back, as it's supposed to be very heavy. This also shows us that he did in fact make physical contact with Hilda. So he just opts to have a doll in his room instead of making a real clone for whatever purpose, who knows. We then cut to them in this wide field. They're just both laying right next to each other. And Loki's laughing. He's like, that was such a close call. Thor seems pretty upset. I wonder how I should say sorry. And Hilda's catching her breath. She's like, good grief, stealing Mjolnir, something Lord Thor values more than life itself. Don't you think you've gone too far with the games? Really? And Loki's a little bit confused. He's like, oh, sorry. Maybe he thinks he's messed up here. Like, this went a little too far. She was actually scared. And she's like, for real? I don't think I've ever felt so scared in my entire life. And Loki's kind of sad at this point, but then the smile does come out. She starts laughing. She can't believe Loki had just done something that crazy. Loki sees it and says, there it is. This smile, I want to keep watching Hilda smile forever. However, that wish was not fulfilled. We cut to this scene now. It looks as if Loki was going to profess his love to Hilda finally, as he was bringing her flowers. He walks over to her, but this time he's greeted with a sight he never imagined. Hilda was with another man. This man, of course, being Sig Freed, her lover. He drops some of his flowers. He observes in the distance. He says, this is the first time I've seen Hilda smile like that. A different smile than he'd ever seen before. And also, they put emphasis on the hands of Sig Freed and Hilda, and they're holding hands. But this is a gentle, tender handhold where Hilda is holding Sig Freed's hand, different from obviously him grabbing her hand, forcefully running away. It does look like they're getting married here. I speculated this in my spoiler video. It does seem to be confirmed in this chapter a little bit later. It does look a little bit weird how they don't notice him, but I guess that kind of speaks to how in love they are. They're just so focused on each other. Loki then crumples up the flowers even more. He says, what the hell, what the hell, what the hell, who the hell is that guy? I need to do something. And he chomps down on his own fingernail. During this time, we see Sig Freed smiling, and now we cut to Fafnir the dragon being slayed by Sig Freed, or so we are led to believe that it is Sig Freed, but it actually is Loki. This is what Loki decided to do. He took Sig Freed's appearance, shapeshifted into him, and killed Odin's beloved creature. And he made sure to do it at a time where there were going to be witnesses. These attendants in the castle come in to feed Fafnir at this specific time. They say, Lord Fafnir, it's time for your meal. They bring him in his food and they see Sig Freed standing over the body. They scream out, someone please help. And Loki chuckles and says, that's good. Once that guy is gone, that smile will belong to me alone. And he reverts back to Loki after the attendants flee. Pretty interesting because obviously, slaying the dragon Fafnir is pretty integral to Sig Freed's lore. So it's a little bit interesting that they decided to switch it to Loki, but it all makes sense here. It ties back into everything. At this point, we see Hilda and Sig Freed entering the castle, and they're actually thinking that this is going to be something of a summons of congratulations. They say it's hard to believe that Lord Odin would invite us to a marriage greeting. That's the confirmation I'm talking about. Yeah, it seems he knew about us all along. Let's vow to be happy together, just the two of us. They then walk in, and as they open the doors to Odin's throne room, they're immediately apprehended by all these guards. There's even these giant guards with Odin sitting on his throne, and Loki is standing right there. This is, says Hilda, Lord Odin, what's the meaning of this? And Odin's birds at that point say, His Majesty is present. Such insolence, restrain yourself, Brunhilde. Loki then walks up and says, Hilda, that's such a shame. She's confused. She's like, Lord Loki. And Loki says, that man, Sig Freed, he's been charged with the crime of slaying Odin's beloved dragon, Fafnir. Sig Freed can't believe this. He says, me and Lord Odin's beloved dragon? Hilda says, no, Lord Odin, what you called us for was supposed to be a marriage greeting. The birds speak again. Odin doesn't even say anything. Birds speak, did you really think Odin would summon you for something so trivial? That was merely a pretext to lure that man out so he wouldn't be able to run away. Hilda's completely shocked at this moment. One of the attendants that was feeding Fafnir says, I saw him. I saw Lord Sig Freed killing him. And Sig Freed's like, what? Odin then says, if you have anything to say for yourself, say it now. Why did you slay the guardian dragon of my castle? What are your intentions? Sig Freed says, that's not true. It wasn't me. There must be some kind of mistake. That's right. Sig would never do such a thing, says Hilda. Here, very important scene, we see Loki start to smirk, and it looks as if Hilda sees this. Odin now gets up from his throne and says, how disgraceful, Sig Freed. You, a mere half-human, half-god, my have you grown arrogant from being praised as a hero, and now you have conceived some nefarious scheme against me? You understand the consequences of opposing a god. And as right before he's about to say a god, something happens within Odin. We see here that Odin was preparing to potentially fight Sig Freed as his aura starts exploding, Sig Freed's aura starts exploding, but Sig Freed notices the same thing Odin notices. Odin's body in 4 different spots is starting to glow, right? Odin's kind of confused. He's like, wait a second. The 4 treasures within my body are reacting. It can't be. Are you saying that Sig Freed is the vessel? Everybody in the room's confused. Loki looks confused, like, oh shit, uncle, what's going on? Odin just keeps repeating the same line over and over. A rarity, such a rarity, such a rarity, such a rarity, such a rarity. You are a rare gem, Sig Freed. And a smile across his face, devious smile. Your actions have been judged as hostility towards all the gods in the heavens. By the authority vested in me as a chief god, I hereby order your immediate and permanent confinement in Tartarus, the Abyss. Cool panel. The guard sees Sig Freed. Hilda screams, no way. Loki looks a bit shocked, and Odin says, take him away. Sig Freed is now chained up, screaming, I didn't do anything. Hilda, she screams, Sig. She falls to her knees, near inconsolable, crying. And we see Loki standing behind her, but he's not even looking at her. He's more so pondering like what really transpired here. He says, I didn't expect him to be confined forever. If they'd figured out I was the culprit, things could have gotten pretty bad. Oh well. Whatever. So he's not even really concerned with how detrimental what he did was to Hilda. He's more concerned with, well, what happens if somebody finds out it was him? And damn, I didn't expect the punishment to be so harsh. A trick born from love, a twisted love, says the narration. We then see Loki walking through the castle later. Looks like he's in like the courtyard. And so with this, that obstacle is finally gone. He's now skipping. Extremely happy. He thinks he's solved all his problems. This will bring happiness beyond his imagination, or so he thought. He now enters the fountain area. Hilda is sitting there. Now this mirrors the exact place where they met in the chapter she asked him to fight in this round. She's sitting there, very somber, and she's holding a picture of her and Sig. Loki walks up and says, Hilda. He's got a smile on his face. Listen to this, it's hilarious. Remember how I cut Ares' hair the other day? Well, this time I dyed just the back of that guy's head green while he was sleeping. So Ares stays getting terrorized. But as he says this, there's no acknowledgement from Hilda. Seriously, it's gotten so incredibly funny. Come on, let's go see it. You'll definitely laugh your head off. And Hilda just gets up and walks away from him without even saying a word. Loki's like, huh? Like, what is she doing? Oh, well, hey, is this about Sig? By the way, I have free access to Tartarus. Should I bring a gift or letter? She's holding the picture. She's starting to look back, and then you get this sinister glare from Hilda back at him, and she finally speaks to him and says, no, thank you. Loki immediately is like, what is this shit? Brunhilde's once innocent and cheerful smile had vanished like morning dew. Why are you making a face like that? All I wanted was your smile. You see like all the flashbacks of him seeing this smile. We now see him back in his room. He's writing into his journal or whatever the case. And they say despite that, Loki didn't give up. His eyes look crazy here. He's writing intently. I ran into Hilda in the hallway today. I tried showing her again how I could stuff my mouth with watermelon. She didn't smile. I thought maybe she was just tired of watermelon. So today I tried eating her favorite pie all at once, and yet Hilda didn't laugh again today. He's become obsessed at this point. He believed that her smile would return someday, but it never did. So not only did Loki change for Hilda, but Hilda in kind was changed by Loki. Her whole demeanor was changed by what Loki did, and it set on the course of Ragnarok, which is actually pretty funny because like Loki is instrumental in Ragnarok actually coming in the midst. So it's fitting. We then see this montage of all the events leading up to Ragnarok. We see Loki's reaction when Hilda decided that she was going to go through with Ragnarok. Are you chickening out? She says to Odin. Hilda finally betrayed Uncle, he thinks to himself. She's willing to turn all the gods against her just to save Sig. The decision for Ragnarok shook the heavens. There's a high likelihood that this will be the cause of some shift in the power balance of the gods. Now, at this point, there's something very important that's shown on panel. It's actually Morgan, one of the fighters from the Apocalypse of the Gods spinoff. This is important because it shows us that these characters can and will show up within this series. This gives me high hopes for Ra to be shown during Anubis' fight. Cannot wait for that. We also see Loki's perspective of the events of chapter 1 when Hilda was being harassed by the incubus. It shows that as he was getting more and more serious and amplifying things, Loki was prepared to step in and save Hilda. He's going to kill incubus. But then, of course, we know Thor ended up doing that. And it shows Thor cutting down the incubus again. And it actually looks as if Thor noticed Loki was there, but he didn't say anything to him. So we don't know what's going on there. But it looks like he noticed him to me. Loki didn't end up saying anything. Obviously, we know how the events of that scene played out. He stayed behind the pillar. We don't know if Hilda noticed him. It doesn't necessarily look like it, but Thor did. Loki says Hilda is risking her life. She's seriously planning to defeat Uncle Odin. He's now back in his room. We see the doll next to him. He says Ragnarok has begun in his journal. These are all journal entries. I met Hilda's eyes for the first time in a while. I was happy, but Hilda did not smile. She made this face at him. I need to bring Hilda's smile back as fast as I can. We now see another perspective of him and Hercules with their talk before the events of round 4. And Hercules says, I'm always on the side of the righteous. Loki says, righteous, you say? Just because it's right, just because you've been a good boy and waited, it doesn't mean you'll get what you want. Isn't that right, Hercules? And Hercules looks at him and is like, Loki, if that's what you truly believe, then why is your expression so miserable? Basically, Hercules was saying like, Loki doesn't really believe what he's saying. And Hercules just didn't waver. Loki then journals about this. He says, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong. The reason I'm sad is because Hilda no longer smiles at me. It has nothing to do with him. The reason I'm sad is because that smile won't come back. The person who loves Hilda more than anyone else in the world is me. It's me. I don't care anymore. I'll murder them. I'll murder them all. Now, it's interesting because it's like, if he truly loved her, he wouldn't have wanted to hurt her in that way. And he didn't seem to even care to try to go console her after she was clearly crying like right in front of him. Now, he might not have that kind of emotional intelligence. Obviously, this is all kind of new for him. But it's more so like a lust thing. It's more so like a selfish endeavor where he liked getting that attention from Hilda. But the last line that's part of this backstory was the I will murder them all thing. And it cuts back to Loki now getting shot in the head. That's like what's ringing through his mind as he's getting shot. We see Loki fall down. The crowd is going wild. Heimdall says, Loki's forehead was shot through. Nobody knows what's going on. Is Loki dead right now? But we actually find out that this entire time, Loki took the appearance of a rabbit and had successfully flanked Simo's position. He saw where he shot from and got in position behind him as a rabbit. Now, it's unclear how exactly he did this. Was he a rabbit the entire time? And the Loki that was out there was a clone from the beginning. And he just was looking for the positioning while in rabbit form, or if he, switched into the rabbit when the shot was fired. We don't know that as of yet, but he was a rabbit behind him. Simo's unsuspecting, has no idea he's behind him. And the last picture of the chapter is Loki emerging in his form and saying, I will murder you, looking like he's about to strike Simo down. With the last words of the chapter being sharp killing intent, honed by love. Insane chapter. Hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown and read through. I don't think anything more needs to be said. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe, like the video. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.